Okay, good morning again, everyone. And thank you so much for joining. I think we have a few people online. So let's jump into the content of today's session. So I'm Christopher van Skalkwyk. I'm part of the operations team at ACEN. And thanks so much for joining us for this session today on circular business in action, using technology and services to unlock value. So I'm quite excited about this session and specifically the two case studies that we have today that will be speaking. Because this is something a bit different than the normal circular economy webinars and sessions that we normally see. So I'm quite excited about the content for today's session. So what we will quickly do, I will do from my side just a quick welcome and introduction. And then I will hand over to my colleague Elke to set the scene for the actual content of today's session. And then we'll jump into the content from our two case studies, Wasteline and Hello Tractor. And then we'll have a quick poll at the end and a Q&A session where everyone can jump in and unmute and interact and ask questions a bit. So just a few housekeeping rules. So the session is being recorded. So we will share it with everyone afterwards again, especially those that couldn't make the session, registered but couldn't make the session today. We will share that. And then for now, everyone is muted and cameras off. But for the Q&A session, we will enable the speakers, the mics and the videos for everyone so that we can have a more interactive session. And then that's the housekeeping rules for today. So what I will do first, for those who are not familiar with ACEN or the African Circular Economy Network, I'll just do a quick introduction and also speak to the Circular Food Systems for Rwanda project, of which this webinar today is a part of our capacity building activities there. So on the African Circular Economy Network, quickly, so ACEN is Africa's original think and do tank for circular economy transformation. We connect over 1,100 practitioners across 42 countries while delivering tangible impact through project implementation, research, and knowledge sharing and capacitation. So just quickly, I'll run through these slides quite quick, and I will share a few links in the chat later where you can read through all the information that I'm sharing in your own time as well. So just briefly, the vision of ACEN is to build a restorative African economy that generates well-being and prosperity for all its people. And I think the people word is the main point here, because a lot of circular economy approaches normally don't take the people side of things into consideration. So at ACEN, we try to always keep the social aspect front of mind. And then our mission, we work towards this vision of ours through new forms of economic production, consumption, and to maintain and regenerate environmental resources. So also the word to highlight here is the regenerate part, because we don't want to just do less bad. We also want to do more good and actually regenerate our natural resources. So then just quickly, our strategic priorities at ACEN. So it is connect, empower, and transform. So under the connect pillar, we build and strengthen Africa's most comprehensive network of circular economy practitioners. So that's a network of over 1,000 people that we keep in contact with each other and keep on engaging through all our different platforms. And then under the empower part, we equipped stakeholders with knowledge, skills, and tools needed to become effective circular economy champions. So this is webinars like these where we share knowledge and try and capacitate our network and the broader community in circular economy concepts. And then under the transform pillar, so we deliver impactful programs and projects to translate circular economy principles into tangible business models. And I think that's also a big theme of today's session, is with the two case studies to show you how these circular economy principles can be applied very practically on the ground to enable businesses to be more effective and efficient. And then just a quick one on our representation across Africa. So ACEN operates through a decentralized structure. So as soon as we have enough members in a specific country, we form a chapter. And this is just a quick layout of our different chapters, which you can see more about on our website. And then quickly on the circular food systems for Rwanda project. So that's specifically a project where ACEN is an implementing partner. So this entails, so the CIRF project, firstly, it aims to foster and strengthen circular food systems in Rwanda specifically, and it has a strong focus on SMEs. So for this project, ACEN is the implementing partner, and that entails the technical and business support we have given the SMEs there, and it's to improve their ability to utilize circular business models. So quite an exciting project, and as I said, I will share links of all of this information that you can read up a bit more in your own time. But I think with that introduction out of the way, I'll give over to my colleague Elke just to set the stage for today's session, what it is about, and what technology and services actually mean in a circular economy context. Over to you, Elke. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. So yeah, circular business models, we very often in food systems, we are speaking about products and not so much about services, which I would think it's kind of missing sometimes in the discussion on how services and technologies are contributing to circularity as well within the food system. So as Crystal said, today's session, we want to go a bit more about these technologies, and by using these examples that we case studies from ground. So we see that circularity also really helps to create smarter services, better access, and also very much the shared use of resources. So in a way that someone does not always need to own every asset or does not always build every system themselves, but by sharing and setting up services for assets or systems, companies also can become more circular by using these assets, services, or in adopting technology so that we don't always need these technologies or self. Technologies also can really help to connect people, resources, and markets, and also to be more efficient with the resources that exist. So I think today one of the examples is Hello Tractor, right? Which we will talk about today. But technology in this sense really helps to share assets, in this case the tractor, and thinking about how can we use that in a better way so that not everyone needs to own that particular material or actually that system asset. You can also think about your car, right? So if you have a car standing at your house, and a lot of the time we don't actually use particular assets. A lot of time these assets actually not in use. So I think these type of models where we talk about today, including Tractor and Wasteline, will also really emphasize on how existing resources can be used in a better way and how actually we can add value for a longer time so that we use actually the resource as optimal as possible. So that is for us, I would say the key when it comes to circularity is like how can we use existing resources in a better way, in a longer way, and adding more value. And in this case, I would also say by sharing, this also kind of goes back to sharing resources as well, in that sense. So that is a little bit of a way that we see that circularity business models are not always speaking to these points. And very often we have discussions about products, but kind of forgetting the other ways on how we can also more circular business models. I think you can go to the next slide, Crystal. So I think today in our discussion, you can also look out to like how do these services that they offer, how do they actually help to solve particular challenges around access, waste, or efficient challenges, and also how technology can make circular solutions easier to coordinate and also to scale, which is also very often a question that is asked, right, when it comes to scalability of circular economy. Also thinking about how businesses can create value from resources that currently are underused or discarded. And I also want to use an example here. We don't have them today, but is another company that we're supporting is Tech Adopter. We are supporting them in our program, and they are manufacturing their machines themselves, And in this case, they're even using the some of the recycled materials to build these machines that is used as a service to farmers, whereby they provide farming equipment. So I think that is another example. That's another example. Also, when we are speaking to these case studies, maybe also good to think about like what kind of partnerships do we actually need to kind of make these circular economy business model work, and also maybe for for the SMEs to keep in our mind, like what can we learn from this case study and how can it be applied in a certain context. So I think I said enough. Lenny, we have two speakers today. We have Nati with the waistline, and we also have Susan from Hello Traxa. We're going to start with waistline, who's going to explain much better their business model than I can. But let me hand it over to Nati to explain his business model, and let's hear from them how that links to circularity. Thank you. Nati, over to you.
Thank you so much, Elka. Thanks so much, everyone, for the opportunity to present today. Am I audible enough? Thank you.
Loud and clear, Nati.
Thank you. Good day, everyone, and thank you, of course, for the opportunity to present today. My name is Nati Tusi. I am the founder of an entity called Waistline. Today, I will share how technology, data, and digital platforms can unlock value in the circular economy and transform waste from an environmental burden into an economic opportunity. Next slide for me, Chris. What I'll present today really is the circular opportunity in waste, how technology improves efficiency, the role of digital platforms, practical lessons learned from the field, the value of data in circular business models, and finally, the future of our own entity Waistline in the Africa's circular economy. Thank you. What is the problem? Africa's crisis, as one would look at it. Africa's recycling challenge is not simply a waste problem. It's an integration, logistics, and mobility problem. Valuable resources, which is really recycling materials, are generated daily but are often lost because waste generators, which is really households, industries, we generate waste, collectors, recyclers, and buyers are disconnected. There is no integration of the different role players in the field. This results in lower recycling rates, loss in income opportunities, and increased pressure to landfill sites, and of course the oceans themselves that end up with a lot of plastic pollution. Thanks, Chris. Okay, thanks so much. Waste is not garbage. It's a resource stream. Every kilogram recovered creates value. Circular economy systems reduce landfill pressure, lower emissions, generate manufacturing feedstock, because what was waste, when it's recovered, it becomes an input raw material again into manufacturing of new stock. It creates jobs and supports community wealth creation. The opportunity is substantial if we can connect the ecosystem effectively. What is the role of digital platforms in this day and age? To my right, I have what we have called beneficial users, and to the left is digital platform competencies. Alka mentioned that, for example, if we've got a tractor and you're not using it today or for this week, and there's a neighbor who needs a tractor, why not find a way to share these things? That is a pivotal point, I think, for this discussion today. What Waistline really does is, as a digital system, we've created an invisible infrastructure that enables circular economies to function efficiently, transparently, and at scale. If you can stay on the slide, Chris. Beneficial users such as households, businesses, collectors, recyclers, and manufacturers, and regulators connect through one ecosystem, which is a platform. Waste generators, collection, transportation, recovery, and recycling activities are also enabled in real time, and there's visibility because you are on a platform. It optimizes collection routes, schedule logistics, and resource allocation. This improves operational efficiency, provides accurate reporting for ESG, compliance audits, and impact measurements. This generates reliable data because data really is the currency of today. If you don't have data, how do you begin to plan? Platforms support recycling initiatives, carbon credits, EPR schemes, and investment decisions. This unlocks circular economy value. It creates traceability across the entire value chain. This increases transparency and trust. Lastly, all cities, provinces, countries can coordinate circular economy activities through one integrated platform. This drives scale and impact. That is the role of digital platform in today's age. Next slide for me, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. So what is the way forward? What's the solution? I'll talk to the solution that I know, ours, which is Wasteline. Our platform uses a smart matching engine to connect waste generators with collectors and recyclers. Be it you collecting plastic, cans, glass, food waste. Once you are on a platform, you get therefore connected. The solution is cloud-based, accessible through web and mobile interfaces, and designed to simplify operations. We are creating a digital infrastructure layer for the circular economy. Wasteline combines a user application, collector dashboard, logistics management tool, and analytics dashboard into a single system. Instead of multiple disconnected processes, stakeholders operate within one digital environment. This improves efficiency, accountability, and visibility. I'm sure we're all familiar with the Uber system that we use either to order food or to transport ourselves. Wasteline, at an interface point of view, when you have a gadget and you've downloaded it on your phone, looks exactly like an Uber app. You are able to request collection. A vehicle comes to your household, picks up your recyclable material, be it food, be it plastic, be whatever it is, and it then takes it directly to where it will be responsibly recycled. Now, I think to talk to the sharing aspect, the system says those who begin to operate at a face value, which is now the Uber style, it will be anyone who has a vehicle, for example, and for that day, they want to use their vehicle to collect recyclable waste, which is properly packaged from their immediate neighborhood. They can log onto the app, become a service provider to collect, and therefore they get scheduled pickups. And then the following week, if your vehicle is busy elsewhere, you jump off the system. But therefore, this is sharing of resources, which otherwise would lie idle if you were not using it for work purposes, for example, if we're looking at the vehicle. Thanks, Chris, for the next slide. What does data unlock? Data is one of the most valuable assets in the circular economy. It unlocks operational efficiency, ESG reporting, and recyclable analytics. Carbon credits, where you have real waste diverted from landfills and the ocean, you can really measure this. But most importantly, it creates investor confidence because now people have got data, they've got information, they've got visibility right at their fingerprints through a system. But maybe more critically, it enables our municipalities to have real information that they can share. They can do better planning. If you ask any municipality in South Africa, particularly, let me say, how much waste is at a landfill at any given time that they moved within a month, it is so disfragmented that they would not be able to tell you exactly how much they picked up. But with digital platforms, they'll be able to tell you exactly how much was moved and what substrate, etc. Thanks, Chris. Maybe next slide. Next slide. What are the practical lessons learned? Slide before. What are the practical lessons learned? If you can, yes, it's jumping too quickly. Before that.
Sorry, Nadia, I think there's a bit of a lag. The one before.
It will be termed practical lessons learned. I'll just talk to it though.
Okay.
Yeah, that one. Our field experience has taught us that circular economy adoption requires trust and simplicity. Informal waste collectors are not peripheral participants. They are critical ecosystem partners. Technology succeeds when it involves practical problems, and partnership remain essential for scale. The next slide. How does technology change the game? Digital platforms improve route optimization, collection efficiency, traceability, reporting, payments, and stakeholder coordination. In many markets, the missing infrastructure is not physical, it is digital. Technology provides the connective tissue that allows circular economies to function effectively. The next slide, please. What is the future of Wasteline? I put this in there because I was asked to talk to this part. Our vision is to build Africa's digital infrastructure. We see a continent-wide platform enabling smart recycling systems, traceable materials recovery, and inclusive participation in green economy. The goal is to become the operating system that powers circular economy across Africa. My closing slide. Technology alone does not build circular economies. Ecosystems do. Wasteline exists to connect people, infrastructure, data, and opportunity into one circular future. Thank you for the time and the attention. I look forward to questions and discussions that will follow. Thank you. That's it from my side.
Excellent. Thanks so much for that, Nati. Really appreciate it. Very interesting. And I'm sure there's many questions. So we'll keep the questions for after the session. So please, if anyone in the audience has any questions for Nati, keep it in mind. And then later on, we can get back to it. And then I think next up, I will hand over to Susan to chat a bit about Hello Tractor.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Give me a minute to share my screen. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. So Hello Tractor connects farmers across emerging markets with tractor owners who have excess capacity. We are more like Uber for tractors. So if you can imagine Uber, then you already know the dynamics and the operational model of Hello Tractor. So we like to say that we turn our tractors into income engines for farmers and local entrepreneurs. And we are at the intersection of farmer productivity and tractor owner profitability. So we try to see this double-sided market and how we bring about circularity in our project. And maybe it would be nice to introduce that at this point, is that, you know, one of our missions is that we try to help our farmers to establish their crops on time. Without tractors, they plant late, they undercultivate their land, and they lose income. So when you bring mechanization and replace that with human labor, then this farmer is able to do more, and they're able to grow the size of their land. Up to 54% of our farmers have increased land production because of mechanization. It's faster, it's 40 times faster, and it's 1/3 the cost of manual labor. So you find that farmers can do more, and then there's increase in yield. And because of that, there's reinvestment into tractor activity services. So circularity in terms of services, that when you mechanize a farmer, then they're able to afford more mechanization, and not just in the land preparation, but in other points of the production cycle, things like planting, things like harvesting. And so yield begets yield, it begets incremental profitability for the farmer, productivity, and the rural ecosystem is helped. So one of our biggest challenge is that we do have a power gap. The global average of tractors is 200 tractors per 100 kilometers square of farmland, but when you look at Africa, that's usually just eight tractors, or 8 tractors in Kenya, 23 tractors in the entire Africa. So to try get to like the global average has taken a lot of intentionality on our part, and that is the problem that we have much more demand for power than we have the supply of it through tractors. So, so the manual farming does take 15 days per acre. And most of the times this is household labor. So you find that school-going children are the ones tilling the land. And so farmers will plant late. It's usually 15 to 30 days late. And that's a critical window, because if you don't establish your plant on time, then you lose out on income, and the yield drops up to 1.5% per day. So sorry, I think I lost content because it's large screen. So allow me to share without this being full screen. Yeah, so a tractor is a machine, right? And I am sure we all have seen tractors. The thing about tractors is that it has a very high upfront cost. It costs more than $30,000 or more, depending on the implements that you have. And then one of the other big challenges with tractor business is that if you decided to own a tractor today, if you don't have access to a marketplace of farmers, then one of the challenges is that the tractor is sitting idle. Because of the different seasonalities, and sometimes it can be 4 months long. And then one of the other challenges as a business is fragmented demand, because our farmers are small and they own small pieces of land. So lack of coordination causes that kind of fragmentation. So for us to cause circular business in terms of the product and services, it means that the coordination has to happen from the marketplace, and the collaborative consumption of a tractor has to be efficient, meaning that there is full utilization and optimization of this asset, and that farmers are gaining more yield. And therefore, if they gain more yield, they can have incremental investment into these tractors and more engagement in terms of mechanization. So demand exists, it's invisible. Supply exists, it's idle. So the accessibility of tractors in our current market will beat ownership of an entire tractor. So that's why we are Uber for tractors. So our technology begins with agents. So if you want to create a loop between the product, how the product moves and how the service moves, then we need booking agents. And these are people with a deep relationship with farmers in the communities that they serve. So they are more like our social capital. The ratio of one agent to farmers is like 1 to 400 farmers. So they book farmers for service, and for two critical reasons. One is because not every farmer has a smartphone. And the other reason, which is mission critical, is because they are organizing this demand so that transactions are happening at economies of scale. So they are able to approach farmers in the same place, at the same location, needing the same service. And therefore, a tractor owner is able to travel many kilometers to service a larger cluster. And that is how we ensure that they keep returning, and we ensure retention, and we ensure that the loop is closed. And then the other product that we have is, so this is more on an operation center that Hello Tractor manages to make sure that these farmers are matched with the tractor owner that are nearest to them. The tractor owners themselves have a mobile application that they use to receive requests coming in from booking agents or individual farmers that are bigger enough to request for themselves. And so like an Uber driver, they will check the timing, the location, and they can either accept or decline the request. And so our tractor owners and agents get paid in the transaction between a farmer and a tractor owner. So we do not pay agents as Hello Tractor. They earn an incentive when a farmer pays a tractor owner. And so like 5% to 10% goes to the booking agent because of the coordination, because the tractor owner can appreciate the scale that they are servicing. We currently have over 8,000 tractor owners on our platform, over 11,000 booking agents across 5 primary markets, that is Kenya, Nigeria, Rwanda, Uganda, and Ethiopia. But overall, we are in 18 African countries. And then 20,000 operators, and these are the people who drive the tractors themselves, because each tractor creates jobs for at least 2 operators, at least maybe 3 booking agents across different agroecological regions, and people like technicians. The technicians on our platform are currently, we have 300 of them. Yeah, and so I wanted to end with this slide, and for now, but one of the ways we ensure that our solution is holistic, and we ensure that we're seeing circularity of product and services, and seeing how farmers are returning and creating incremental reinvestment and growing, is through our mechanization hubs. Mechanization hubs are physical infrastructure, like the picture you see here. This is one of our hubs in Rwanda, a place called Kayonza. So in Rwanda, we have 2 hubs, one in Kayonza, one in Nyagatare. And in Kenya, we have 4 hubs. In Nigeria, we have 8 hubs. So because we wanted to go to a place where there's critical mass of tractor owners, tractors in the region, farmers, booking agents, a place where there's agricultural intensity. We know that our farmers need much more than mechanization to be able to have good productivity and yield. And so we bring into the market this coordination of farmers. We know them and they have digital footprint within our systems. But now the hub comes in to ensure that we have critical services and products that are required to ensure that mechanization is booming, it is sustainable, and that once a tractor breaks down, they can be repaired, there's maintenance, there's implement bank, things that you can loan on to prevent the burden of ownership of different implements needed for different seasonality for tractor owners. We have things like demo plots where we look at conservation agriculture, smart practices, things like crop cover, soil rotation, and minimal tilling using special equipment, so that we are ensuring that the yield is maximized. And things like fuel, especially right now when we have a fuel crisis, we have been looking into biofuel. And this is one of our biggest cases of circularity, because our farmers can plant croton trees, and the nut in a croton tree is pressed and it produces oil, and through a process we call transesterification, it can produce biofuel. And so we have been testing with like tractors getting in 5% of fuel or 20% all the way to 50% for now, as we are waiting to look into 100% compliance. So within a hub territory, we are able to centralize, deepen our offering, and have a very, a vertical way, a vertical model, as opposed to scaling horizontally. So each hub looks at 20,000 acres across a 25-kilometer radius, where we can have farmers plant feedstock, even things like soybean, macadamia, and get for us to take that feedstock and press it and create fuel. And so that's how we are trying to mitigate the current fuel crisis within our tractor business. So those are the critical products. Actually, before I close, I will talk of one more, and that is our pay-as-you-go tractor financing product. And here we also try to ensure that the booking agents, the community agents that have a relationship with farmers, can become tractor owners themselves. And so based on a threshold of acres that they bring in a year, they can qualify to become tractor owners. So that's also how we create circularity when it comes to jobs, that as they serve farmers, they have a bigger incentive to become tractor owners themselves. And some move from owning a smartphone to owning a $40,000 worth of equipment, and they become, these tractor owners that have the purpose to serve their communities. There's more profitability, and in terms of profitability, we have done surveys with people like Heifer International and have recorded like a 227% in terms of farmer revenue increase because of mechanization that leads to intensification of yield. And I will stop there for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, so much for your presentation. And also Nati as well. I think the Uber for tractors and Uber for waste is coming back, I think, in both. I thought that was very interesting to hear. I know we're gonna start a Q&A, but we have a poll, Christo. Do you want to do that first before we start the Q&A?
Yes, let me quickly share on my side. I think we can do it in parallel. So I will share a quick QR code and a link in the chat. So if anyone can please just log on. It's 2 quick questions that will help us a lot in this session. Thank you very much. And then I will also unmute everyone and allow the camera. So if anyone has a question, please feel free to unmute and interact.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Christo. I actually had, maybe I can kick off the Q&A session with one question that I had. I hope that's okay. I had actually a question for Wasteline. And I can think about many questions, but let me stop with one question. I was just wondering, so you're using this Uber platform idea, right? Whereby you link with someone that needs waste collection, and you use that kind of a model. I was wondering, the technology that you developed, is there a way also to embed that with countries that already have organized their waste collections? So what I mean is, for instance, in Rwanda, there is a set way of picking up the waste, right? There are trucks that will come. It's allocated to particular private sector companies. But in this case, it sounds like you are a request for a pickup, and because they request for the pickup through the platform, you have that data. I was wondering, is it possible to incorporate that technology in a way that it also can benefit other types of systems? Because I think it was very interesting that you were talking about the data actually help with investment, right? And also about, you can even think about what you said about city planning, how much waste you have. So I was just wondering, is there a way for waste collection models that are a little bit different to incorporate that technology as well? I don't know if you have an answer to that, but I was just thinking about it because data is so important when it comes to circularity. It's just such an interesting way of thinking about collecting that data. Thank you.
I don't know if I should go ahead and answer now, or we're just collecting questions
Yeah,
now.
you can
Can
go
answer
ahead
now.
now,
Okay,
and then I
great.
see there's a lot of questions in
Thank
our
you.
chat box as well. We can
Okay.
go through them.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that question. As much as the internet is failing us a bit, there are parts of your question that I missed. But in a nutshell, I think you asking me how Wasteline would benefit or be used by entities that already have infrastructure to collect their own waste. Because okay, great. Wasteline is a technology platform which is very robust. The same way that you would download an Uber app, but I'll just use that as a simple example. You download an Uber app, register, and you request a ride or you order food. Behind that system that you see on your phone is a very big platform, a big engine that then says, is this just an individual because you've registered as an individual? It, however, has entities that register in it. Those entities have the capacity to then say, I have vehicles of my own which collect in this predetermined area. They collect so much on average. Can I load them onto the system? And therefore, that entity has its own profile within the system, and they use that profile as if it were their own system. Wasteline is a system that now all of a sudden powers entity A's waste collection system. So, like for example, the SAP system, if you look at the SAP system that we all are familiar with in big industries, banks across this country and the world use what is called the SAP system, but we don't know that it's a SAP system. We think it's a Standard Bank, it's an ABSA, it's an FNB, it's whatever, Ren mentioned bank system. In a nutshell, it's not. Beneath it is a SAP system that powers the banking system. So Wasteline is a waste, or it's a circular economy system that powers waste collection, recycling, etc. So as an entity, therefore, you have your own collection system. Now, if you want that collection system to integrate and manage its data effectively, you can then register into the Wasteline system, and you therefore have your own chapter within the system that you use, and your market, which is your immediate environment, can therefore download the same system, but now it is branded Company A as opposed to Wasteline. But beneath it is a Wasteline system. So it's a tool, it's a platform. So it's not just that only a household would register or a small business would register. Municipalities themselves, for example, the ones that we're talking to, they don't have integrated systems. They run what is localized systems. On a Wasteline tech platform, a municipality can now then say, we can track track A, we can track track B. In fact, we can then prioritize track A and track B differently, because now we've got users in this area who have also indicated that they've got pressure today. Because municipality as it sits now, it follows a collection pattern every day, because on a Friday they collect streets 1, 2, 3, 4. They don't, however, collect streets 18, 19, 20. If there was pressure in streets 18, 19, 20, so no one would know within a municipality, and on a day that they don't collect because it's predetermined. However, if there is a system that therefore everyone can interact through, that begins to be a system that is globalized, if I were to use that word. I don't know if I've answered your question.
I think I can still think about many other questions, but let me just ask someone else to ask a question. It's just a very interesting way of getting data and thinking about decision making for policy in both investment, right? So I could ask you many questions, but let me ask someone else from the audience. I see there's someone has a hand up right now. I see it as IO. Maybe the person can unmute himself and ask a question.
Okay. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I.O. Ifeanyi Onyemere. My name is Dr. Ifeanyi Onyemere. I'm a lecturer at the University of Sunderland in the UK, and I happen to be a member of ACEN. I research around sustainability transitions, circular economy included. The question is for, I think, Susan, the lady that presented from Hello Tractor. I would like to know, it's a beautiful presentation, and I like the model, the Uber model. But I would like to ask two questions. The first question is, what challenges do you encounter in managing this model? And what kind of solutions have you been able to use to navigate it? That's the first question. The second question is, your Uber, the tractor drivers, the operators, how are they remunerated? Is it on the as they pay job, or just because what Uber does is that the drivers are paid when they carry passengers. If they don't carry passengers, they don't get paid. So in your own system, the operators, are they paid when they have a job, or is it a fixed salary remuneration? Because there is what we call emotional labor. So somebody is ready to work, but he doesn't have any job at the moment, and he doesn't get paid. And I know what that can cost to them. So these are some of my questions.
Thank you so much, Ifeanyi. Those are good questions. So the first one is on what challenges that we face within this model. I'll try to be as quick as possible, seeing that our time is not on our side. Yeah, but I will talk about three primary challenges, and I'll tell you quickly how we resolve them. The first biggest challenge is a coordination issue. Organization. As you can imagine, we have lots of farmers, 60% of the population being engaged in farming, but then they own very small pieces of land. So farmers are deeply fragmented. And because of that, let me just also draw another comparison, like other bread baskets in the world. You find that farming regions are, it's just one region where farming is intense. But in Africa, you find that households are also where the farmers farm. So because of that fragmentation, one of the solutions we have that is what I was talking about, agents. And so unlike Uber, where every individual we request for, a car, and I'm able to deal just between myself and the Uber driver, here you have to have a mediator. This is the booking agent sitting between the farmers and the booking and the tractor owner. So they organize this demand, and transaction happens at economies of scale. We call that, the cluster aggregation, and we have a cluster density ratio that we use. We also adopt things like route optimization and use a lot of data to do route optimization so as to guide a tractor on the best route possible to save fuel. And and time. One other challenge is that we have more demand than supply. So even at our best, when we started Hello Tractor, we were only servicing 16% of the bookings that were coming into our platform, because more farmers want tractor services, but we don't have tractors in the market. And so we started the pay-as-you-go tractor financing program. It's unconventional, and we try to underwrite and amortize the loan at a higher rate than the depreciation of the tractor. And we ensure that these tractor owners are working as they pay. We make it very attractive to young people, to women, and ensure that depending on seasonality, it's very well modeled out for rural regions, to ensure that more and more people are getting new tractors. And so that's a second challenge and solution. And then one of the other challenges was data. You know, when you're working in agriculture, you need to know as much as possible. And the fact that we were not working with tech savvy customers, we had to see how our tractors can become our digital enumerators. And our solution being that we now collect like 9 billion data packets a year, because every tractor that is on our platform, every 7,000 tractors that is working 10 acres a day, over 2 million farmers. And so we use this data to have predictive modeling that is strong. And we're able to see, especially in temporal means, where the tractors should be, how demand is changing, how shifting cropping calendars are happening because of climate change. And so we have been able to leverage data to really deepen our offering and to know where the farmers are, their willingness to pay, crops that are happening, and how to place incentives where it matters. Yeah, then on the second question on operators, we try as much as possible to, one of our business deals with increased utilization for the tractor. So if you're not using the Hello Tractor app, you're probably going to the market and parking your tractor there, and you're waiting to get work. But with Hello Tractor, we are connecting you with a marketplace of ready demand. So you will not have an operator who has a tractor that is ready for work, but there's no work. As I said, one of the challenges is that we have more work than we have demand. So we have learned efficiency, the dynamics of efficiency and optimization. So the tractor is fully utilized, and they're able to also tell them different agroecological regions. If in western part of a country, it's peak season, and when it's low season, the tractor is able to move to a different region. So they're paid per job. It's a percentage of a flat fee per job. But then it's our mandate to ensure that this tractor is fully utilized so that they're profitable. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. I see another hand up from Elizabeth. Elizabeth, can you maybe unmute yourself and also ask your question?
Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. It's afternoon at my end. My name is Elizabeth, and I'm a master's student from the University of Tusha, currently in my finals. I just want to ask the first speaker, I can't pronounce his name very well, so I'll try not to murder his name. Intosinya, sorry. But the first speaker, so in a case, because he was talking about municipality, probably when you want to scale like circular economy models, right? How do you harmonize that when it comes to the government policies? So if you have that initiative that you want to do and you want to scale it up to cover a region, do you go to the government first or the municipality and tell them, oh, I have this, I want us to collaborate? Because I think for me, from my own understanding, sometimes it can pose a challenge because they say, oh, we don't want this here, we don't want, or maybe the people will be like, oh, I think this is expensive, right? Because I recently did a survey on why people are not responding to green initiatives, and their major concern was that they think it's just, in quotes, greenwashing. It's just a front that private individuals, businesses want to use to make more money, because most green products or green initiatives tend to cost higher. So I said, no, see it as an investment to the environment, to, as an investment to the environment. But then how do you do this if you want to scale up in a municipality where the government is not ready to cooperate? Do you just do your stuff on a small scale, hoping they accept, or you consult them even before you start the project or the pilot case? This is my question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Great question. In South Africa, we have a government policy that says municipalities will collect waste from households and, strangely, not from businesses. Businesses are responsible for disposal of their own waste. Now,
Natia, are you still here with us? Or was that your response? Natia, are you still here? I think we might have lost him. Okay. Then I think maybe we can. There was one more question, but this was also for Natia. I saw in the chat box. Maybe we can pick one more question. Sorry, Elizabeth. It seems like he dropped off, but maybe you can reach out to him. I think there was one other challenge or question asking. Maybe Susan, you also have a reflection on this. Is what are you going to do differently to make this approach also logical and law and mandatority? So it was a question that was asked by Kevin. Like, there have been so many great initiatives, but how also? Oh, Natia, you here?
I think
disappeared.
he's back.
My network just disappeared. I'm not
okay,
sure if.
Well, maybe you can continue. Maybe you can continue.
Okay, I'll be very quick then. To Elizabeth, our regulation in South Africa, and hopefully with the rest of Africa, it will get there. We have a bill and a legislation that says municipalities should not collect recyclable waste and dump it at landfill sites. It's becoming a criminal offense for anyone to hand over what shouldn't go to a landfill site, give it to a municipality to take it to a landfill site. So municipalities, as they sit, they are looking for ways and means to ultimately not pick up from households, but they're still sitting with old legislation that said they were responsible for picking up from households, but legislation has changed. So for us, it's become very easy, therefore, to, one, engage with the households and they get on board, and also engage with the municipalities and say, here is a system that begins to help you so that you can collect directly from households instead of you collecting and disposing at landfills. Municipalities have only one mandate: collect waste and dump it at a landfill. They can't take it anywhere else. Now, there's legislation that says, municipality, you cannot collect waste from households and dump it at the landfill. So these are two legislations that are fighting each other almost. But of course, the recent one says municipalities make households responsible for recycling their own waste. So we've introduced something called separation of waste at source. Households separate now at source and they call for the collection, and therefore you send a closest vehicle on an Uber style model to go and collect that waste from a household. So municipalities themselves, in other words, because by recent legislation, they now can't take recyclables to landfill. They need to start directing households to vehicles that are available within a system that municipalities themselves would have adopted, and say, here is a vehicle that can collect at your area, and then it begins to be decentralized like that. This then will change the responsibility or the operational model of a municipality. Municipality will not any longer, over time, of course, will not any longer be a collection agency of waste from households. They will begin to be responsible for making sure that our cities function better, instead of collecting waste and dumping it at a landfill, because they can only dump it at a landfill. And now they have been told, reduce landfill dumping, make households responsible for their own waste. I'm not sure if I've answered you, Elizabeth. I hope I have.
Yes, you have. Thank you so much. It's quite different in my country. Even though I am currently in Italy studying, I'm still touching base. We don't yet have the sorting, mechanism, but we have the collection. I'm hoping that in the nearest future, most businesses and entrepreneurs begin to step up, because I think the more the push from the businesses, the more the government becomes more attentive. Oh, this is actually, we can see that it's working. They're able to do it. What if we scale up, right? But then, sorry, lastly, I know because of our time, because of the time, should the municipality or the government, because at the end of the day, even if they collect and it goes to the landfill, it's still not solving the problem, right? Because it's still generating a problem. Do you suggest they start to focus on, oh, how do we recycle this? Since we're already sorting, how do we recycle, maybe recycling plant? I know that's a very, very huge project, because like we have here in Italy, they have the recycling plants, the incineration, which is like, they want to even minimize incinerating. So how do ACEN as a network start to educate, right, or advocate, oh, don't just take the trash and dump it. How about you looking at getting a plant to recycle these things? So it's a win-win. You take the trash and you reduce, the landfill. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much. And remember, all waste doesn't start as waste. In fact, that's why we should start moving away from calling it waste. It starts as a resource. If you look at plastic, plastic is not plastic. It starts as something else, which then becomes plastic. Then it becomes a packaging material. That's where the problem starts, when it is now packaging material. We put water into it, we drink water, then we throw away the water bottle. Now, that water bottle is not garbage. When you bought it from the shop, it was beautiful, it had water. Now that you've drank water, now it is garbage, we throw it away. We need to change that mindset and say, that water bottle that you bought, you need to return it so that you have another water bottle the next day which will contain water. So plastic bottles need to go back in and become input raw materials again into the production cycle of plastic products. Cardboard needs to go back again. Glass needs to go back again. For example, I think the best example for circularity in recycling is glass. If you take a beer bottle or a wine bottle, that bottle that you see now, 70 generations in front of you will still see that same bottle. It never dies. You can bury it, it will remain there. If it is out here and somebody took it into a furnace, it is 100% recyclable. Nothing escapes, nothing dissipates in a bottle. The other substrates, such as plastics, they shrink because of few emissions that get caused, but ultimately they also become another plastic bottle. Now, if we took glass, for example, and we took it back into a furnace, we will reduce the mining of silica sand, will reduce the mining of soda ash in Botswana. For example, Botswana is being depleted of soda ash because we're still producing new glass so that we can consume beer. If we returned all the glass into a furnace in a console plant, which is what you call recycling, console will produce glass every day using the same glass that you had the following day. It's just that the collection method has not been effective. Municipalities collect it when they see it, they dump it at a landfill. They know it will never rot, it will never decompose. So we need systems that begin to capture this at source before it gets to a landfill. So yes, there are plants that recycle materials when they get it, but they need to get the material. The system, therefore, that collects is the one that needs to be effective. That's why the Uber models, I like the Hello Tractor model in terms of tractors. I need that here in Durban. A lot of rural areas need a Hello Tractor because people are still using plows, etc. And yet there is a system that can be used. There are tractors everywhere, but no one is able to coordinate these tractors. So Susan, I really need to talk to you. So yes, if you have a system that coordinates, things begin to work. It's the coordination that is lacking, Elizabeth. Thanks for the questions. We really appreciate them.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Susan and Nati, for all your time. I think the audience can ask so many more questions. They're so interactive, and I see emails that are getting shared in the chat box. For me, one of the takeaways when it comes to technology, I hear the Uber model coming back. So yeah, thank you so much for your time. Krista, do you have any other closing remarks on your end? I see you pulled up the thank you slide already.
Thank you, Olga. No, I think the closing remarks on my side is similar to yours. Just thanking the speakers and the interactive audience. Thank you so much for all the questions. And what I will do, I will send a after event email as well with the recording, with the contact details. So please do get in touch with Nati and Susan if your questions was not answered. And then you guys can take it from there. And otherwise, I think this was a great session. And I think if there's nothing else, I see we are 6 minutes over already. Apologies for that, but I think this was really a valuable session. So then it's worthwhile spending a few extra minutes. So I think if there's nothing else, I will close the session for now, and we will see you in the next one.
Thank you so much, Nati and Susan. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well done.